Okay, imagine this. You heard about a new app for productivity, a new task app, and you got super excited. It seemed like it had everything that you wanted in it. It was going to solve all of your problems. You started using it. You got really excited. You got down in the details. You watched a bunch of tutorials. You color coded things. You were super excited, and it was working so well for like a week. And then, things got busy. It was a little harder to use than you maybe had imagined. You didn't look at it for a few days, and now everything is overdue, and you're just feeling like, oh, I don't even want to look at this again. And whenever this happens, it's actually a really normal process, right? That we get really excited about something and then we start doing it and it's harder than we think. And so we kind of fall down into this motivational valley. And then, if we get through it, if we get through that hump, then we will start using it in a way that makes more sense. Maybe we're a little less, super excited about it, but we're a little bit more realistic about using the thing that we're using. We get better at it. We are able to learn new skills, integrate these new skills, and then eventually we get to a place where, say, that task app is really a part of our world, right? It is something that is pushing us forward, that is helping us to do the things that we need to do, etc. And this can happen with like any new skill, any new thing we get excited about, we want to learn. It's like we jump right up here and we have these really high expectations, and then things are harder than we think, and so we go down here and we feel terrible about it. And usually often we throw in the towel at that bottom point, right? We're feeling like, ugh, it just didn't work for me again, instead of pushing on through so that we can get back to a place where this thing is actually going to be really good for us. And this this whole cycle, right? This actually reflects very well what we call the hype cycle. And the hype cycle is actually a term created by Gartner for a technology innovation cycles, right? And so it starts with, an innovation trigger, something got you excited, right? In the world of technology, it's like maybe there was a new technical innovation, but in your world, it might just be like you got really excited about something or you saw something that was really going to help you, right? And so you shot up into the peak of inflated expectations. Everything's going to be different. You're going to be different. Everything's going to be changed, right? And then things get hard and we dump right down and we find ourselves in the trough of disillusionment, as it is called, right? And sometimes we stay here because we don't know what's on the other side of it, right? But one thing that I share with all of my coaching clients, I share all of them with the hype cycle when we first start working together, because this is a really normal emotional cycle for us to go through. Anytime we're learning any new skill or we're acquiring any new skill, we kind of shoot up to the peak of inflated expectations, we dive right down, and we find ourselves in the trough of disillusionment where things are harder than we thought, and we thought, oh, this is never going to work. And then if we stay on the path, if we keep trying, if we keep tweaking, we keep iterating, we find ourselves on what we call the slope of enlightenment, right? Really high-minded words there, but the slope of enlightenment. And then eventually we find ourselves at this like plateau of productivity, right? Where things maybe are not as good as the peak of high inflated expectations, but they're definitely not the trough of disillusionment. We've got ourselves to a position that's much better off than we were at the beginning, even if it's not, the high of highs, right? And this peak and kind of following this cycle is something that we all the time for all sorts of different skills that we're trying to learn. And it's really important to understand that, because once we understand that, we can see that on the other side of the trough of disillusionment, we have the plateau of productivity, right? We just have to get there. And I think that this is something that's really helpful to know about ourselves so that we don't throw in the towel, when we get to the bottom, right? But it's also something where, we might feel like we need a little bit of help getting ourselves beyond that hump, right? Or beyond that trough. Right. And so sometimes that's coaching, right? That's a lot of the reason that coaches exist, is to help people through cycles like this. Sometimes that's maybe you need an accountability partner to help you. Maybe you need to dive a little bit deeper. Maybe you need to tell yourself, I'm going to try this for, several more days and just see what happens, right? With no expectations. Maybe things will get better, maybe things won't. But I find that this hype cycle can be something that is much more broadly applied than in the world of technology innovation. And I wanted to share it with you because it is something that, I was just thinking, I share this with all of my coaching clients when we start working together, because it's such a helpful framing for what we might expect of ourselves when we're learning something new. And so I thought, you know what, I would come into this channel today and share it with you, just in case you have ever found yourself in part of this cycle. And more importantly, if you have ever found yourself at the trough, at the bottom, and then just said, you know what, I'm done with this thing. just know that on the other side of that was something good, right? And that sometimes if we stick with it a little bit longer, we will get to that other side of something good. Now, does that mean it's easy? No, not always, right? But we will get there if we keep trying, if we keep keeping on, right? Sometimes we need a little help to get there. Sometimes we can do it by ourselves. But understanding this is really key, I find, to being able to have a lot of self-compassion when we find ourselves in the trough, right? We're all going to be there from time to time. We are all going to do something that was at first seemed amazing and then becomes harder or more difficult than we thought before we get to the other side. And remembering that can help us feel so much better about ourselves, right? It's not us, it's the whole situation. And if we keep on keeping on, we will get there. So I'd love to know from you in the comments, have you found yourself in the trough of disillusionment ever? And if so, how did you get out of it? Did you keep keeping on? Did you hire a coach? Did you get an accountability partner? Did you work through it with YouTube videos on your own? Like, how did you do it? How did you get out of it? And have you seen this happen in your life before? And have you gotten to the other side?
Hey, it's the video editor here. I just want to say that only about 20% of the people that watch our videos are actually subscribed. So if you like these videos and see them on your feed, and you want to see them on your feed, just make sure to subscribe and like the video. Thank you.